no time in throwing down dunks during the preseason. When asked by ESPN's Eric Woodyard if he's going to participate in this year's dunk contest, he said he's a, quote, game time decision. Matt, BS or real talk? Oh, wow. I think I'm going real talk. Why do you think it's BS?
Why game time? You know he's going to be in the dunk contest.
I don't know anything anymore, man. There was a time when you look at him.
Dunk contest. I definitely think hopefully him, Levine, Aaron Gordon, and maybe one more jumper. And I think it'll be probably one of the better dunk contests we've seen in a while. But I think he's definitely going to be in.
I think he's going to be in, but I think there is going to be a real talk about whether he will. I mean, he should be in there. I will be disappointed if he's not in there, but this is also a guy they shut down for the summer pretty quick, that they have put basically in bubble wrap because they don't want him to get hurt or overused. And who knows where they're at.
I can't wait for Coach K to tell us he's already doing too much. He's doing too much. Why should he do a dunk contest?
But I do think he will be in it. I
don't know. Especially if they're in a playoff picture.
I know.
There might be. I mean,
look, we're still. Look, has LeBron James ever been in a dunk contest?
No.
Remember he promised that one year.
Like I said, I think he's in there.
Let me ask you guys this:
Speak it into being.
Who would you take in a dunk contest between Zion and Zach LaVine, who had his own show last night?
Zach flies.
Zach in Chicago too.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, because although Zion is a very powerful dunker, you've seen like in his high school tapes and all that kind of stuff, he's got some trickery to his dunks as well. So I mean, in a slam dunk format contest, it's gonna be ugly.
It's that hometown crowd though.
Yeah. He's gonna probably have the Jordan jersey underneath everything and dunk from the free throw line. He can windmill from the free throw line, by the way. Zach LaVine can. He can with the one hand.
The only thing I ask is no gimmicks. Just go out there and dunk. I don't need a plane out there or a microphone or something.
Gimmicks have got corny, haven't they? Just go out there.
Just go and dunk. You guys are good at it. Just do it. All right. Next up, the reigning MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo saw his first preseason action Wednesday night. The Greek Freak showed little signs of rust and was dunking all over the Utah Jazz, as we showed you early in the show. Giannis finished with 22 points in 21 minutes of action. After the game, Giannis told The Athletic, quote, "A lot of my teammates were talking to me and told me to relax a little bit. It's your first game. You're going to be rusty. But it doesn't matter how rusty you are skill-wise. You can always put in the effort," right? Ramona, the Bucks thinking that Giannis needs to chill. Is this BS or real talk? Oh, yeah. That's good. Yeah? All right. This one's easy, right? It's a preseason game.
It's early.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
But that's how he's wired. That's how he got to be the MVP in the first place.
One speed. And like we said earlier, I mean, oddly enough to think that an MVP has more to prove. And like I said, I think there's going to be a major chip on his shoulder this year, and he's going to have an amazing season this year.
Look, they didn't win last year. He didn't have the kind of World Cup that he wanted internationally. I think that he's heard the criticism that he doesn't shoot well from the outside. He's heard all of that. And he's got something to say about it.
How did Conley get matched up on him right there? That's just not fair.
That switch.
Poor Mike.
That's when you yell, "Where the hell at?" How likely do you think it is that he repeats as MVP?
He doesn't have the narrative anymore. And I think, the Bucks were such a great story last year. He was such a great story. But it's kind of like Steph, right? When Steph started winning MVPs, it was like every year he does that. You expect that of them. So it's going to be hard for him to top what he did last year. It's going to be hard for Milwaukee to top. And there's so many other teams out west and so many other stars that have that narrative set right up.
Let me ask you this, because you brought this up earlier. How often can we talk about an MVP who's got so much more room to grow? What if he comes back and he's shooting threes? Not great, but definitely decent enough where you have to respect it. Matt?
I mean, I definitely think he's in the mix, along with, I think Steph is going to have some vengeance this year. I think James is obviously going to be James, LeBron, and AD. So I think it's going to be a 5-horse race, and I think any of them have a great chance to win.
Y'all keep forgetting about Joel Embiid.
I'm with you on that.
All right, next up, Kevin Love is the oldest player on the rebuilding Cavs and should be near the top of any players likely to be traded this season list, but says he's happy on his current team. He told Cleveland.com, quote, "I do want to be here. I always have. I say that knowing it's the NBA and it's a business. I think especially after seeing last year, the summer leading up to last year, and this summer, the changeover is like unprecedented, so you don't know what's going to happen." All right, guys, let's try to do this one all at the same time. BS or real talk? Oh, yeah. I love the unanimous BS. Matt, translate what Kevin Love is actually saying.
He's just saying everything he should be, being politically correct, knowing Cleveland just gave him that big deal, 2 years ago. And like he said, Kevin has always been someone that just gone out there and played and never really ruffled any feathers. Obviously, an aging player on a rebuilding team, I'm sure he would like a shot at getting another title before he's done, but he's saying everything he's supposed to say.
Yeah, I mean, look, he wants to be there. He's going to be a nice guy. He's not going to cause any problems. But it's a business, as he says. And if things were to happen,
look, this
stand in the way.
I always tell players, man, you don't owe any obligation to the media to tell the truth about these kind of things. Lie all the time. Oh, I love you. I don't want to go anywhere. And then when you get traded, well, I liked it, but, you know, it's a new day or whatever. Definitely go run with that lie. But the one thing I would say also about his situation in particular, Cleveland and Charlotte, I think, are the two teams that are the furthest to go in terms of rebuild. I mean, if he were on the Suns, if he were on the Bulls, one of these other teams that aren't good, but at least you could say, okay, they've got something's happening here. I may want to be a part of this rebuild. But right now in Cleveland, and this is not a knock at any of the young players they have on the team, but just it's not that caliber of player. There is no Kristaps Porzingis or Doncic or Trae Young or someone like that to get excited about. It's a lot of decent players, but they've still got some massive holes there.
I'm sure it's hard to leave sunny Cleveland as well.
Shout out to Joakim Noah. You ever want to go to Cleveland? Everyone want to do that for vacation? Who would be interested in Kevin Love?
I mean, there's a lot of teams. Portland is one that you've frequently heard mentioned. Boston is another team that needs some front court help, obviously. So there's a lot of teams that I think on the list of like top 5 players most likely to get traded during the year. He's definitely on that list. He has a lot of years and money left on that deal, though, and he has not been healthy the last few years. So that makes it difficult to trade him, especially mid-season.
You hit it on the head. I think a healthy Kevin Love can help anybody. You know, people forget how dominant he was, and although he's getting up there in years, was he 32, 33, around that age? He's still got a few more years, but I think his health is a big concern. But he can definitely, a healthy Kevin Love could help anybody. Yeah,
I mean, Portland, I think, is the one interesting one because obviously he's from there, but they've kind of missed that third piece this whole time that CJ and Dame have been brought them to prominence, and they've had a lot of success, but they've just missed that third guy, and I think Kevin Love could be that. All right, Ramona, you got a flight to catch to San Francisco to cover tonight's Warriors preseason game against the T-Wolves. Thanks for joining us, and tell Steve Kerr to...
We'll see what he says.
Yeah, I want to hear what he has to say after his name was thrown out there a little bit. After the break, Matt and I will discuss the likelihood of Trae Young being an all-star this year. Trae certainly thinks he has a chance. Keep it locked to the jump.
In the East.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Time on the jump. Kyrie Irving left just 1 minute into his first preseason game with the Nets. Irving aggravated a facial fracture when he made contact with Rajon Rondo on this play. Are you concerned about Kyrie's durability this season, Matt?
I think his durability is going to be key to their success. You know, already shorthanded with KD. Kyrie's had some injury problems and definitely has had some facial fracture problems. So, you know, hopefully his face has time to heal, but they're definitely going to need him out there.
We talked about it a little bit earlier. I think they have two luxuries. One is that they have a really good guard in Spencer Dinwiddie who can step up and is a starting caliber guard in this league. But the other thing is they're in the East. Oh, let's be honest, man. Like, you can take a couple months off in the East and still be right in the thick of things. If they were in the Western Conference, it'd be a different story, I think.
It's going to be interesting. Like I said, I like what they're doing. Obviously, he's a key piece to it. You know, getting him acclimated, getting DeAndre Jordan acclimated, getting Wilson Chandler back. They have some key pieces, but I think Kyrie is obviously one of the main ones.
All right. Dion Waiters dropped a game-high 19 points in just 16 minutes off the bench versus Charlotte. Waiters, who's entering his 8th season, was asked by a reporter if he could, quote, ever accept being a reserve. His answer, no. Is this attitude okay from someone who's coming off the bench?
I like him. He's so talented, and he's just getting his feet, you know, wet again in the NBA. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's been out for a little bit, so I would just like to see him accept whatever role it is. We know how talented he is. Whether you're a sixth man or not, you're still going to be in there at the end of the game. Accept it and let your play do the talking. If your play puts you into the starting lineup, let it be. But especially with Miami, with you know how Riley is and Spoelstra, they're not really with any kickback. So I hope he doesn't mess any kind of situation he has up going because he's got a lot of talent.
And to be honest, isn't it more important to be on the floor at the end of the game than in the...
People don't get it. It doesn't matter who starts, man. It's about who finishes.
Yeah, I mean that's when you really want to be on the floor. All right. Trae Young continues to shine in the preseason. He dropped 18 and 5 last night. In a recent interview, Young told Yahoo Sports, quote, "I believe I have a chance to be an all-star this year." So, Matt, does Trae make the all-star team in his second season?
I think he's got a chance. There's obviously some talented guards. I would say that it would be a lot heavier in the West if you're in the West, but he's in the East. There's a handful of guards that are there, but he has just as good a shot as anyone else to make it.
Yeah, I think there's two conversations, right? One is he popular enough to be a starter? Probably not, maybe not at this point. But the other thing is, if the Hawks are winning, then I think the coaches will always reward that.
They got a good young team.
Yep.
Very talented.
Very exciting to watch, and I think for him, if he wants to be an all-star, I think team success is going to be pretty important for him. All right. Houston beat the Raptors in Japan early this morning. That was our second look at Russell Westbrook and James Harden together with the Rockets. There were MVP chants from the crowd in Tokyo. Harden was asked about it and said, quote, "Both of us have accomplished that feat. I think the reason that we're here together is to accomplish something bigger than that." Matt, do you think Harden and Westbrook have moved past individual awards?
I think they are. I think they have. They've accomplished pretty much everything you can accomplish as an individual. Now it's about getting that ultimate ring, which they both have won. And like I said, if they can make this work, they have just as good a chance as anyone in the West to come out.
I'm the biggest skeptic about this working, because you got two guys who are so ball dominant that it's not just that about. I don't think they care about the numbers or the awards, but you talk about guys who for the last 4 or 5 years in the NBA, they've had the ball in their hands, and this idea that one of them is going to have to stand in the corner for a little bit. How hard is that for them to adjust to that?
We're going to have to see. I mean, just thinking with James's ability to shoot, you would think it would be easier to have James standing on the side, off ball, and Russ on the ball. But, with it being James's team, it's going to be interesting. But like I said, when this first happened, these guys are real friends. Teammates are teammates, but friends are friends. And I know they're willing to sacrifice a lot more for each other, and they're going to have to sacrifice. I mean, they have a great supporting cast. It's really up to how those two gel as far as they go.
Let me ask you this, because you've got a lot of friends around the league. You've played with friends. What's that like? How does that impact team success or maybe team not so success?
It's different. It's different. Like I said, you'll run through a wall for someone you really, really like, really love as a brother. And I feel that's what these guys are, brothers, and they'll take that extra step for each other. So it's really going to be a lot of sacrifice on both their parts. For the greater good of the team, but just kind of figuring out what that looks like, because we don't really know what that looks like. How is James going to be if he has a string of games under 20?
Yeah.
How Russ is going to be if he's shooting 20% from the three-point line at some point in the season. So there's lots of, unknowns, but I think if they can gel, like I said, they got a good team.
The other thing is, I think those things are easier to live with if you're winning. If you're not winning, then it's, I tried. I did my sacrifice.
Right.
Now we got to do it.
I'm going back to my way.
I'm going back to my way. And I think those are the things that they're going to have to face. And when you talk about winning and losing in the Western Conference, like we talked about pretty much all summer long, sometimes it ain't even your fault, man. It's just, it's a tough place. All right, this just in at the buzzer. Draymond Green was asked if he thinks other NBA players will refrain from speaking out on future social or political issues. That's basically the CNN question. Draymond said, quote, "No, I don't think so. I think any issue that touches you per se, guys are going to speak out about it. As Daryl Morey did with this situation, when you speak out on an issue, it's America, so you have freedom of speech. You've never really seen a reaction like this because we all know that it's America, and whatever your position is on certain things, if you want to take that position, you can take that position." Matt, if you were in the league, would you be worried about speaking out publicly on controversial issues? I feel like this is a dumb question. I know how Matt Barnes is.
I'm worried about speaking about on anything. But I think everyone's making a great point. You speak on what you know and what you're passionate about. You don't want to come off misunderstood or uneducated. And I think it's been a great stance for these players until they really have a grasp of what's going on, just to say nothing.
Yeah, I think, and I see a lot of this on Twitter and Instagram. Even my buddy Andrew Schultz, a comedian, tweeted something like, "Oh, NBA players will talk out, but then when it affects the check, now y'all don't say anything." And I say, this kind of disingenuous, because the idea is when guys are talking about social issues, they know about it.
They're passionate about it.
They speak from a place of experience and knowledge and have done their homework. Right. And now we're expecting these guys to speak up on the fly. It's something that happened 24 hours ago. Now you have to bone up on all this history and all this politics and positioning between two global superpowers, and I have to speak about it intelligently. That's not really fair.
If you think of the bigger picture, there's so much on the line right now. And like I said, I think this is bigger than basketball now. This is politics. This is trade talks between the presidents of our countries, and it's bigger than basketball, and it's unfortunate.
We talked about it yesterday. This is not just This is not just the NBA. As a country, we have a lot of stuff going on with China. All right, Matt, thanks for joining me. Thank you for Ramona Shelburne for joining us as well. We'll be back.